been thinking a bit about so in the Mothers, the section that I've gotten to now it's about the concept of that which is taboo, and it got into this thing of the taboo actually is we're using it differently than it used to be used, and really even to the point that he gets into sacer or sacerdotal or sacred, that which is sacer. And this would also apply to that from the terminology kadosh, or set aside, that which has been set aside. And the idea being that he's like, that which has been set aside, that which has been made a special thing unto itself, is special and always has that special power. That special power is of no in particular power, good or evil. It just has a power. And so the idea, actually, I think the term that we would think of when we're using this word correctly, or putting the idea correctly to a word now, is we're thinking of curse. So we're thinking that there's that it's not that something that is so that which is sacred and good that people set aside is just the same thing in ancient times as that which was evil and set aside. They both were the same. And the reason why is because, again, he was getting into, you're thinking like a Christian, that God is good and that the angels are inherently good, that God does good things and gives you the good things. Now there is the idea of he giveth and he taketh away, but not that God would say, set a curse upon you, such like, because remember, it wasn't necessarily, it was tests of the devil against Job, if I remember correctly. It wasn't that God actually sent those things upon him. God allowed the devil's touch to fall upon him. And so I just really was thinking about this. I was like, yes, actually, Job really makes this much more clear in this ancient term, in this ancient way of thinking of it. Anything having to do with the unexplained or unseen world is inherently something people don't want to have anything to do with. That's really what it is. And then this makes more sense when we think of the way that especially Tolkien wrote, that there's these things around that are really powerful, like powerful swords and rings and treasures, but nobody's going to touch them because you don't touch things like that. You never know what's going to happen. That's the idea. So Briffault gets into this, and he's like, we're thinking of it like Christians, where sacred relics will give you good outcomes. If you have this sacred relic, you'll get blessings. Blessings will fall upon you if you have this sacred relic. This has even fallen into some video game play. This is why I particularly like the idea of abyssal modules in EVE Online, that you could get an abyssal module and it could be good, or you could get an abyssal module and it could be absolutely horrible for you to install in your ship and curse you. It'll curse you. And if you put it in as a rig, it's even worse. And so so the idea of that which is taboo. So then this starts to make sense because Briffault has pointed stuff out like this that I've sat back and I said, this explains things much better. Like, now I actually am being made to understand, no, your Christian Western world viewpoint it's not even remotely like some kind of just thing that's happened to come into existence. No, this is literally like one of these things that could almost never happen, but for a very small number of chance opportunities by the species to have such a point of view that you can look back and really see, okay, no, this is how humans behaved, and here's observation of it. And we can see this because we literally look at such behavior as something from a lower form of ourselves. That would be the aspect of us achieving the magnanimous, that we have risen above something. This is also in tune with the natural order, which the natural order has an order to it. There is that which is better and above, and that which is lesser and below. And they're not all equal and the same. So, this was just something that I started to think about with Briffault bringing up Tabu, and then bringing up, no, the Kadosh, that which is set aside is not necessarily holy or sacred or good. It just is very, very, very important. And so he then goes into, because that which is taboo could be good or could be bad, but you're not meant to mess with it, is then very, very important when it comes to who you can sleep with, who you can marry, who you can breed with, who your tribe can have interactions with. And then he got into, for how much people might think religion burdens the modern man. He's like, you would have no way of understanding almost anything you're doing at any time among savage lower humans with their taboos, with our taboos. That he's like, almost anything and everything could be taboo. You would never know. You had to have absolute specific knowledge from that group of what they call taboo. Oh yeah, that's a whack job. A wacko doing wacko things. Oh yep, you're putting stuff up in the windows because you don't want people seeing you. Because the wackos, because there's wackos everywhere now. So things, the social justice warriors, COVID, all of this is starting to make more sense now. And especially this thing of like how that which is liberal is and woke is really just kind of covering up, returning to savagery and lowness. In most ways, you know, that it's some way of just covering up like everything that Briffault has been showing people. Things like OnlyFans, like that one girl, the Catch Me Outside girl, who suddenly she starts her OnlyFans, people throw money at it, and it's because, well, yes, of course. I saw this among liberals at a thing called Oregon Country Fair, where finally some girl decides she's going to go to country fair and she's going to have her breasts painted. And everybody who attends, like there's this total kind of understanding that everybody wanted to see this girl's tits. And and liberal parents, what, you were walking around a country fair without your shirt on. Oh, Mom, it's country fair. Oh, you're grounded. And it's that's a part of liberal culture. This idea of the early sexual maturation of their young women, and to the point that that you know the area is notorious for STDs, especially herpes, and and the idea that in an area like this, any man shares almost any number of Eskimo brothers, which now the concept of Eskimo brother, after reading Brifault's book, now I'm getting why they would have used this term, because of the idea that you could share your woman, or your woman just sleeps around wherever she wants, and that it's like, well, no, it's totally cool, because that is how humans are until they come up with monogamic relations, and that becomes a necessity. And not only does it become a necessity, it becomes a critical necessity because of the multi-generational holding of wealth by typically males in the form of livestock, and then later in the form of land and precious metals. And the ability to offer the bride price. And so that we're actually seeing savage culture, our savage part of us, collide with the part of us that's completely civilized. And women are demanding a bride price that's simply too high. And that older generations are doing something very, very savage, where they're allowing the multi-generational wealth to be sapped out by the powerful. And only now we're starting to see the rise of the parents as actually people defending their offspring and defending their legacy and the multi-generational wealth that they've accrued, that they plan to pass on to their children. And we're seeing with the revolt of the parents. So there's just a lot of stuff that I'm seeing. Briffault has made me understand, because he's stripping away civilization. I see it now. I'm like, okay, without all the fancy buttons and without all the fancy outfits and technology, we're still doing a lot of the same stuff we would have done about 20,000 years ago. And that really, we're seeing that how quickly, over only about 2,000 years, how a portion of the world has so well bred their people to be monogamic and to start using different methods by which to attract the mates that they to attract the mate. And it was this. Briffault really is making the wheels spin for me right now, and so and I'm really enjoying that book. So I'm going to probably take a little walk and do a little reading while I have a little while longer. Later this week, I'm going to rearrange my room, so this will be really kind of interesting to see. All right, later.